There is no true intelligence if it is artificial. True intelligence needs consciousness and awareness. This has been brought forth by a guy named Roger Penrose, a Nobel Prize winning physicist who wanted to explore the nature of consciousness and found a factor with his friend that contributes to consciousness. The system of illusions is control in itself oftentimes, unless you see the patterns being the mechanisms in which lures you into the elite's narratives to bring you to certain conclusions without your permission. Now is the time you gain agency. You are a co-creator, not a victim. Reality is not to be contended with, it is to be understood. Hello everybody, Logan here at Mastery of Life. My purpose here is to help you break down barriers from yourself, others, and your very understanding of reality so you can be confident that you can bend it, not just because you want to, because it is your birthright. I shall go over the Hermetic teachings, manifestation, not the fluffy, commercialized, the secret manifestation that's almost useless, and help you tap into your intuition like Albert Einstein, Nikola Tesla, and Thomas Edison. Have you ever felt like, how is it possible to believe in myself? Like, how am I supposed to believe in myself when people and companies do not seem to have my interest in mind and think I am not being realistic, which definitely gets into someone's mind? And how am I supposed to put in enough effort that I can dismantle discouragement and lack of focus? And number 3 is, how do I even know if this manifestation thingamabob actually works? There's been so many times in the past where my insecurities cause my emotions to get internally riled up whenever I hear someone say, don't make excuses, or if I did not succeed by now, then I did not want it enough. Mentally struggling through the pressure of work and me talking to myself. So eventually there came a point where I am like, oh well, it is just not worth it. There's no point in pushing myself this hard and driving myself nuts. But the reality is that is not how you should pursue life. There's more to success than internally and externally pushing yourself and hoping for a better future. That is not even the right way to approach life. Not making excuses does not mean not acknowledging your current emotions, lack of skill, or lack of perseverance. That is usually a product of something else. Do not rely on people's advice, especially if they're not where you want to be, and relying on comparison in the media. It is your agency that will get you through this. I have a good tip for you. Manifestation. You're going to be like, manifestation. Saying good things in the mirror. I'm going to have to be the vision board. I'm going to have to set goals. And blah, 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 blah. But that are just silly little techniques that have been brought forth by big industries trying to sell you something and not telling you the whole truth. I recently watched this YouTube channel of this guy, Narrow Knowledge, who read over 400 books on the subject of Hermeticism and a whole bunch of other things to do with manifestation. And he came up with a definition which really helped me bring myself into action and align myself with my goals internally and externally. First internally and externally. His definition was emotionally shifting to a degree in which you are no longer reliant on seeing reality change, and you're going to have to treat your goals as normal. You're going to have to treat whom you actually want to be and want to become, and closing the timeline between who you are now and who you want to become through visualization. But you're going to have to align the identity, the thoughts, the emotions, emotional conviction. Take a quick look. I shall see. Beliefs, identity, attention, thoughts, and emotional conviction. I did a journaling technique to align all of that, seeing what my beliefs are now and changing them to a productive one. Where my attention is, where my thoughts are, what my identity is, and where I have emotional conviction in what I'm pursuing. If you have all of that aligned, you are on your way up. Rising above the system. What is the system? The system is a machine that controls society in secret, a group of elites, and through that, they control the narratives in society without consent, and operates through many industries and systems. For example, the school system. Things on TV are often manufactured. Hollywood inserts beliefs into you, partial truths from the protagonist and partial truths from the villain. The news often psyops you into believing certain things, and your environment often sedates you into staying where you are. But if you break free, people are often confused. In this section, I'm going to go over the misconceptions that pervade our consciousness and suppress our awareness, and expose the manipulation tactics being put forth by the media about many areas of life, like finance, health, and politics, and whatever it is that they're manipulating about, and how to identify it. Misconceptions that pervade your consciousness about success. Don't worry, this will tie into manipulation and just purely being an environment that doesn't support where you are aiming. Okay, now I'm to bring forth how the media manipulates you to believe in certain things. Remember that this also bleeds into society and how they talk, which is also of propaganda. So you're going to have a clear framework for you to identify this. This acronym was brought forth by a guy named Chase Hughes, who is a behavior psychologist and trained PsyOps. Okay, here it is. Fate, focus, authority, tribe, and emotion. Focus, they often bring news forth that is a distraction. A distraction from something that may be important news or a revelation about a certain thing, and often say the same phrase like unprecedented or threat to democracy. It doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on. Okay, there's authority. They often bring forth authority figures in their field, but they speak out of their expertise to endorse a certain candidate. Emotion, focus, authority, tribe. Tribe is when they have in-groups and out-groups, enemy versus savior, good versus evil, scientific versus deniers. You're going to have to question that if they bring forth that. And then emotion, there's appeals to emotion that spark outrage, fear, hope, and whatever it is. We're going to have to also question that. The Trivium method of learning. It is a 3-stage process, and it is a classical approach to learning, so you can rise above manipulation tactics and think for yourself, analyze the claims, and be able to come to your own conclusions. There are 3 parts to understanding information. Oh, did you notice that I have a new shirt now? Because, well, it's not a new shirt. It just changed it because it is another day. Okay, I'll move on. Okay, there's 3 parts to this process in order for you to evaluate information. First is the information gathering stage, or also called the grammar stage. There's the processing of information, which is the logic stage, and then there's the rhetoric stage. That is when you're understanding and communicating with other people about what you have learned. The grammar or information gathering stage is where you gather information without judgment and with facts, data, books, experience, direct observation, and scientific articles in order for you to use in order to judge later. Avoid filtering information prematurely with bias and preconceived ideas. The next is the logic stage. This is where it's scrutinized for truth through asking questions, identify logical fallacies, identify bias, and ask as many questions as possible. Understand what it looks like in the real world and be able to come to a conclusion. Avoid filtering prematurely through biased or preconceived ideas. Okay, the third stage is the rhetoric stage. This is where you teach people. This is where you bring your ideas to life to see if there's any logical gaps and scrutinize for truth. And when you bring it out into teaching, you're going to have to know the subjects in which you're studying, and you're going to have to maybe bring analogies in it and storytelling without compromising the actual truth of it. Mechanics of manifestation. Manifestation is something you already do. It is the outcome of your way of thinking, feeling, your identity, your emotional commitment with what you're doing, and your understanding of the world. If you actually think like those whom are already masters in their field, if you already understand the spiritual, mental, and physical plane, you're able to bring it from that high vibration into the dense reality. You're more able to go forward as a way of being instead of forcing yourself with habits and a whole bunch of other things without understanding your internal world, why you feel the way you feel, why you feel about the way you feel about money, people, relationships, and whatever. The Hermetic Principles. These have been a launching pad for me to get an understanding of the physical and metaphysical reality, a way of thinking that is effective for purifying intention. And without the basic understanding of reality and real manifestation, not the fluffy, the secret manifestation, you'll metaphorically keep going against the grain of life. The burdens of not knowing this or something similar to this will be like you feeling like a victim to your circumstances, being busy being a cog in the machine. But consciousness and awareness will help expose how you are being played like pawns on a chessboard. I will help you become a master of being in the realm of causes instead of the affected. This first principle is mentalism. Everything is mental. There's a base reality, there's subatomic particles, and what is in those is wave potentials. Wave potentials is energy and has a vibratory nature. This gives to Newtonian level physics, which is physical reality. And physical reality has a slower rate of vibration. Just as your thoughts give forth infinite realities and imagines many realities. This with your identity, emotions, beliefs, and thoughts. These come out into our physical reality, but our physical reality is a lagging indicator. And there's a vibratory nature to that and your way of being. The second principle is correspondence. As above, so below, as above. Everything arises from a fractal template, and the small things function on the same laws as the very large things. Bruce Lipton, a popular cell biologist, alluded to that. Your cells function very similarly to your body. It has an excretion system, an immune system, and a respiratory system. When you look at the seashell, it looks very similar to the universe with the galaxy, with the swirls. That is that fractal template in which everything arises. This functions on the metaphysical level also, as in another principle you can utilize, the principle of vibration. Your general vibratory nature has a quantum reaction and transcends time and space, this manifesting its situational parallel. Number 3 is the principle of vibration. An atom is energy that is shaping matter. It is a spiraling vortex that ripples out into space. If you want to understand the universe, think in terms of energy and vibration. That is a quote from Nikola Tesla. The actual last sentence, not the first part of the introduction of the principle of vibration. You can use energy for so many things. You can use it for levitation, you can use it for healing, you can use it for powering your electronics. Anthony Holland, who was a cell biologist and music professor, who brought forth the usefulness of it through shattering cancer with resonant frequencies. And almost like when you scream at a wine glass at a certain frequency that it will break. And you can also use this for shattering cancer. As everything is energy and vibration, you realize how deep this goes in relation to corresponding intuitions and its matching entanglement. This also alluding to being able to retrieve information from non-localized sources as fully formed thought forms. This has been utilized by so many scientists in the past, and they have brought their inventions and understandings of the universe out into the world, which their intuitions have been judged as non-scientific or just not real, but later on has been tested into real theories like Albert Einstein, Nikola Tesla, and Thomas Edison. According to Karl Pribram, a neuroscientist at Stanford University, and David Bohm, a physicist at the University of London, says, energy creates, stores, and retrieves meaning in the universe by projecting or expanding at certain frequencies in a three-dimensional mode that creates a living pattern called a hologram. To what point are we to break free from the chains of the persuasive nature of business and government in order to see beyond the materialist understanding of the world? Number 4 is the principle of polarity. It is opposites but part of the same continuum. Almost nothing is truly black and white, right or left, hot and cold, or whatever. It is usually more to the picture, but the division that does exist is often manufactured. The number 5 is the principle of rhythm, which you have to realize what goes up must come down. Different phenomena is explained at different stages of society, from the explanation of genes to the explanation of consciousness healing, but I have now realized that the balance lies in the middle. It is that there is a difference between Newtonian physics and quantum physics, and that goes together. It is the materialist understanding and consciousness. Consciousness being the steam and the physical reality being the ice. It is just a slower rate of vibration. Number 6 is cause and effect. The masses are ruled by effects. Politics, media, social pressures, collective moods. That is a quote I got from the Library of Thoth YouTube channel. We don't realize the consequences of our way of thinking and our relationship with our emotions, whether we choose to identify with it or suppress it, or our strategy is to identify the patterns, understand the origins, and understand why you feel the way you feel. Then you can traverse it and have a contingency plan for when that situation happens next time. Once you understand those consequences, you begin to have the scepter of power. You are more likely to be able to take control of your life and be able to not pay attention to information that is not serving you, not entertain thoughts that are not serving you. You are going to be able to ascend your identity from the victim to the master and be able to tap into your logical and intuitive power that resides in you. Now, the last principle, other than the 8th special one, is the principle of gender. It doesn't just have to do with sex, it also has to do with the propagation of the structure of the universe, since the universe is mental, and the relationship between chaos and entropy and order. This has to do with the manifestations of this physical reality, both of our minds and the mind of the universe, and that being the same thing. It is also have to do with the male principle and the female principle. The male being focus, setting boundaries, setting goals, and everything to do with structure. With the female principle, it is receptivity, empathy, and intuition. You have to have both sides, or chaos ensues, and one side is too rigid, the other one needs support. So you need both sides. It doesn't have to do with relationships. It is all within us to manifest our reality through the structure and the intuitive side. So I also got a bit of that information from Library of Thoth. Thank you, Library of Thoth. Carl Jung, a popular psychologist, has brought forth that there is a collective unconscious, and understanding the overarching symbolisms and intuitions by going into yourself will give rise to understanding the underlying structure of reality, and can reconcile the inner wisdom and the rational everyday life. Carl Jung, a popular psychologist, has brought forth that there is a collective unconscious, and tapping into it can give rise to the overarching symbolisms and intuitions that exposing the underlying structure of reality. This also reconciling your rational everyday life and your inner depths of wisdom. Remember to carve out time for introspection. Keep a dream journal, write down both perspectives of logic and emotion, and get to understand what underlying beliefs are shaping your life so you can transcend the physical world and be able to manifest the metaphysical principles into the outer world and be authentic in the way that you believe in yourself, that you can change. Okay, thank you everybody. Wish you health and happiness. Hope this helps you be prepared for the world. And you are powerful. You are loved. Okay, bye. Wish you health and happiness.